love experiments. And for 2 years, I lived in my car as an experiment on happiness. Now, I wasn't depressed or broke or anything. I just really wanted to know how much can I take away from my life and still be happy. And I knew the things that I enjoyed. I loved being outside, being in the ocean, in the forest, being with the people who I love, being in a brand new place. And I realized none of these things really require me to have an apartment. So I packed up all of my stuff into a storage unit, never looked back. Now, I know you have questions like, what did I eat? Where did I shower? How did I sleep? Well, mostly kale, eggs, banana, granola, and peanut butter. I showered at my climbing gym or at work, and I slept in the back seat sideways just like this. Now, the hardest thing for me to get used to in this time was trying to go to bed at night with the fear that someone might discover me. And it took me 3 months for me to realize that no one is ever going to think anyone is sleeping in that Toyota Camry. Now, I thought a year was going to be my max, but a year went by and I had made the decision to upgrade my car and keep going because my life was a lot simpler and counterintuitively, I was a lot happier. And I think these are the reasons why. One, I got to spend a lot more time with my friends. Living in a car means I bring my car and my home everywhere, which means distance, commute, really no longer a problem. And that kind of flexibility also made it a lot easier for me to say yes to adventures. Hey, you want to go camping? Sure, I'm basically already packed. Hey, you want to go surfing at 6 in the morning? Yeah, I'll just wake up by the beach. Just knock on my window if I wake up late. Now, it also means that I also got to spend a lot more time with my friends and made them a lot deeper. Here's a color-coded calendar of all the places I've slept. The blue are all the times I've crashed at my friend's house. That's quite a lot, but how many adults get to say they've had this many slumber parties with their friends, right? Now, they weren't all fun and games. Sometimes they insisted I spend the night because I was really sick, or because there was a storm, they didn't want a tree to fall on me, or because I was going through a breakup and they didn't want me to be alone. And just consistently having these incredible acts of kindness being offered to you or to me made me appreciate their presence in my life a lot more than I could have learned otherwise, especially the ones who let me use their mailing address. Now, secondly, I live my life with the richness that I intended. You see, 80% of my home is my bed, and so that forces me to go out and do something. Hike, bike, climb, yoga, volunteer, watch a sunset for once. So, consequently, that means that I started to pack my days full of things to do. Because it's a lot easier to sleep in your car when you're exhausted. And so over time, it just became a habit to be tired by the time I get to bed. And because I saved so much money on rent, that means that I thought about my expenses a little differently. Gas for a climbing trip? Yeah, that's 1 night's rent. A flight home to see my family? Yeah, it's 4 nights' rent. My mom's face when she finds out that I was living in my car for 2 years? I think that'll be priceless. I'll let you know. Now, some of this was hard, but, logistics like where to pee at night was really annoying, but I had the privilege both in friendship and financially to make it work, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Lastly, my life has gained a lot more meaning. Mark Greif once wrote that the meaning of life always comes down to the method of life, which really emphasizes the process of how you live it over the product of what you do with it. And for me, I've gained a lot of meaning from just living my life minimally. And not just in the sense of having less stuff, but also knowing which few things make me happy and intentionally crafting my life around those things. And I can tell you that there's nothing that feels more purposeful than waking up in my car every day and thinking to myself, yes, I chose this. This was all intentional. And that's important because it's a lot easier to derive meaning out of something that feels intentional than something that feels random, right? And lastly, I want to go back to this calendar because a friend and mentor once suggested that I do some house sitting, dog sitting to make some extra side cash. And because of that, I've lived in some beautiful, beautiful homes. And that put me in a position to go back and forth between living very, very minimally to living in very extravagant digs. And that put me in give me in a position to say, I am just as happy and I sleep just as well in a $1 million home as I am in a $1,000 car. Now, I'm not trying to sell you on this idea of living in your car is the best thing to do, but I can say because of this drastic downsizing and this change in perspective that I've really honed in on what makes me happy and what matters to me most. Thank you.